doing new things. Good morning to everyone present here. It is a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of the Department of Computer Science Shift 1 Adarsh College. In the present scenario, technology in education plays a crucial role in providing new and innovative forms of support to teachers, students, and the teaching learning process. This national webinar on technology in the education sector provides insights on virtual transformation. To begin, let's invoke God's blessings with our college prayer song.
वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा शुद्धां ब्रह्मविचारसारपरमा आढ्यां जगत्यापिनी वीणापुस्तकधारिणी अभयदा झट्यान्तकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिका झदधति पद्मासने संस्थिता वन्दे तां परदेवतां भगवती बुद्धिप्रदां शारदा.
I request the head of the department, Dr. Hannah Vijay Kumar, to welcome the virtual gathering.
Good morning. On behalf of the Management Punjab Association, Principal Dr. R. Shanti, faculty members and students of the Department of Computer Science Shift 1, Anna Adarsh College for Women, I take immense pleasure in welcoming you all for the national webinar on technology in education sector, which is the utmost need in the present situation as the teaching learning process is undergoing a shift to the virtual environment. A warm welcome to Mr. M.BALASUBRAMANIAM, Managing Director, Blackboard India, and Chairman Board of Governors, Indian Institute of Information Technology, for joining us among his busy schedule in this virtual forum to share his views about digital transformation in higher education. As a well-accomplished innovator, Mr. Bala is responsible for many technology initiatives of the government and has a passion to share his expertise with the student community. We are really honored by your presence, sir. I welcome Mr. G. Venkatesh, Head Academic Operations, ICT Academy, who has a rich experience of 20 years in training and education industry. Anna Adarsh College is proud to be associated with ICT Academy and has been a part of all their training initiatives. We are privileged to have Mr. Venkatesh and looking forward to hear the cutting-edge technologies from him. I extend a hearty welcome to Shri Manjit Singh Sethi, Vice President, Punjab Association and Correspondent, Anna Adarsh College for Women, for his virtual presence. A warm welcome to Dr. Jayashree Ghosh, Director, Management Studies, for joining us. I welcome Dr. R. Shanti, Principal, who is instrumental for implementing the tools of technology with ease for uninterrupted knowledge delivery in the Anna Adarsh College virtual domain. I welcome the enthusiastic professors, students, and academicians from around the globe for connecting with us to listen from the eminent speakers of this national webinar. A special word of welcome to all the heads of departments and faculty members of Anna Adarsh College for Women for their eager participation. The pandemic could open a door to new technology and dramatic innovation in education as disasters are the laboratory of innovation. As all nations struggle to flatten the pandemic curve and curb any further infectious way, it is plausible that the education sector need to adapt to the new phase of teaching learning process. I am sure this national webinar will enlighten the tools and applications of digitalization, which are the magical wands in the hands of educators to bring in digital transformation and thereby setting very high standards of education without compromising on ethical and moral values. I once again welcome you all to this virtual forum. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your gracious welcoming. Computer science is an exciting, challenging, and a dynamic discipline. In the current scenario, new computing technologies evolve at an enormous rate, and the department is going ahead in adopting a learning environment capable of preparing and qualifying graduates who are able to face their challenges innovatively and creatively. Academic seminars and value based programs, career guidance and counseling programs, skill oriented workshops, awareness programs, alumni initiatives, community service, and outreach programs are the regular happenings of the department. ISR has been a major concern of the department by the students involving themselves in the spread of computer literacy to the underprivileged section of the society. Here we go to the visual clipping portraying the Department of Computer Science. Anna Adarsh College aspires to create societies that illuminate this world with education and prevent deterioration of values and social harmony. Our beloved Madam Principal, Dr. R. Shanti, believes in sculpting ourselves and moving into a world where we can be chiseled to the needs and dynamics of this society by transforming into an energetic human being. I cordially invite you, ma'am, to deliver the special address.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, one and all. I deem it as a proud privilege to deliver this inaugural address in the national webinar on technology in education sector organized by the Department of Computer Science Shift 1. I congratulate the department to have chosen this topic as currently without technology, no learning can take place in education sector. When technology was used to supplement and substantiate learning among the students today, technology is the means and end to learning and testing. On behalf of the management, Punjab Association, faculty and students of Anna Adarsh College for Women, I wish the very best to the Computer Science Department for the conduct of this webinar. Technology has impacted our lifestyles and every sector has a digital imprint, and education is not an exception. Access to education was a privilege to the rich and the elite 50 years ago. Children and youth traveled miles to get primary and higher education. Books, infrastructure, physical contact in schools and colleges were definitely hurdles to development and literacy. But this century brought in the changes in the way we learned and developed. Higher education institutions, which had the required funding, public or private, started integrating technology with conventional learning. However, a vast majority of educational institutions, including the government schools and colleges in India, were left out in this revolution. Then COVID-19 happened in India. The unfolding of the pandemic displaced people and a new normal of living emerged. The new normal brought education into devices. The paradigm shift from brick and mortar classes to wired devices did shake the stakeholders in April and May 2020, but the seamless adaptation to Wi-Fi and devices was unparalleled in the history of mankind. We once again proved that though we are insignificant in nature, we could survive and keep life going on. Anna Adarsh College, once a family of excellent interpersonal relationships, shifted to collaborative work through internet and we became connected 24/7. I am delighted and euphoric when it comes to implementation of technology in all administrative and academic work in the campus. Thanks to all the faculty and students and our progressive management, migration happened with enthusiasm and with an excellent positive mindset. We are today not confined to classrooms alone, and neither we are embracing repetitive and redundant curriculum. We embrace international certifications, Coursera being one of the premier route to get certificates from internationally acclaimed universities. MOOCs, Swayam Portal, Swayam Prabha, Kalvi TV, and many more are standing testimony for technology adaptation at the grassroots level. The model of Sage on Stage is slowly giving way to virtual guides and screen-based learning. Ubiquity of smart devices is ushering the education sector to anytime, anywhere education. We all learn differently. Some need reinforcements, some need a little more personal attention, some need competition to excel, while some need collaboration to perform, and some need teamwork to learn. A lesson taught in the classroom cannot be stored or retrieved. However, a digital classroom gives us the privilege of permanency of lessons, personal learning, competition, and collaboration among them. Technology is student-centric and it creates time and place utilities for the student consumer. Some of the popular tools in education sector abroad and similar ones used in India are Edmodo, Socrative, Project, ThinkLink, TEDed, CK12, ClassDojo, EduClipper, Storybird, Animoto, Kahoot, etc. 2020 has come out with new trends and Google Classroom has become a household name. As countries invest in remote learning as an emergency measure to reach students, the challenges they are addressing lay the foundation for reimagining education. Extended school college closures may cause not only loss of learning in the short term, but also further loss in human capital and diminished economic opportunities in the long run. Countries are currently in a coping phase to manage school college closures and are also preparing for managing learning continuity when colleges open, as well as a third phase of resilience and reform to improve the system for the long run. To help mitigate the loss of learning, many countries are pursuing options to utilize remote learning to manage and cope with the crisis. The ways and means of technology adaptation can be through augmented reality or virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and LMS, to name a few. Augmented reality in education can serve a number of purposes. It helps the students easily acquire, process, and remember the information. Additionally, AR makes learning itself more engaging and fun. It is also not limited to a single age group or level of education and can be used equally well in all levels of schooling, from preschool education up to college or even at work. Virtual reality we use to describe a three-dimensional computer-generated environment which can be explored and interacted with by a person. That person becomes the part of this virtual world or is immersed within this environment and whilst there is able to manipulate objects or perform a series of actions. VR implies a complete immersion experience that shuts out the physical world. Example, instead of having a classroom setting being taught about history, students can be taken virtually back in time and see events unfold in front of them. I apologize to have advocating this. PUBG is probably this one which we are going to ban now. That's the dark side of technology, which is not the contention or the objective of this webinar. The academic world is becoming more convenient and personalized thanks to the numerous applications of artificial intelligence for education. This has changed the way people learn since educational materials are becoming accessible to all through smart devices and computers. Today, students don't need to attend physical classes to study as long as they have computers and internet connection. AI is also allowing the automation of administrative tasks, allowing institutions to minimize the time required to complete difficult tasks so that the educators can spend more time with students. A learning management system is a server-based or a cloud-based software program. It contains information about users, courses, and content. A learning management system provides a place to learn and teach without depending on the time and space boundaries. LMS can also be called as course management systems, personal learning environment, e-learning courseware, and virtual learning environments. Let me conclude this monologue and invite experts to address you. Content development and safe use of technology and managing the dark side of technology in the hands of budding youngsters who are the torchbearers of the future society is currently the biggest challenge facing the technology experts. I once again thank the Department of Computer Science for having given a push and thrust to all concerned on the safety and developments in the field of cyber learning by organizing this webinar. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your noteworthy deliverance. We are sure that with your energy, enthusiasm, and focus on education and learning, our institute achieves greater excellence in the upcoming days. Going forward, I would like to call upon Assistant Professor Ms. S. Ranjana to introduce Mr. M. Balasubramaniam, MD, Blackboard India.
Good morning, everyone. I feel privileged to introduce our guest, Mr. M. Balasubramaniam, to the virtual gathering. Mr. Bala pursued his graduation and post graduation in management from Madras University. He is an alumnus of IIM and IIT. He is having close to 20 years of experience in the IT industry. He worked on building software application for CIBIL, Indian Credit Bureau, and also served as executive committee member of the board. Mr. Bala was the founding director of Higher One India. It was providing banking and payments to 18 million students for more than 1,250 universities of higher education students across US. And also he involved in setting up of payment applications and software for student, faculty, curriculum and compliance assessment as per Washington Accord and ABET accreditation, and also providing various tools measuring the outcome-based education to the global higher education institutions. Mr. Bala has got many global certifications in the field of cyber security, capability maturity model, Six Sigma cloud security, agile, and AWS solution architect. Presently, Balasar is the managing director for Blackboard, which is one of the world's largest education technology company, providing learning management system, analytics, and various solutions to more than 120 million students in 20,000 plus universities globally. His areas of interest include all cutting-edge technologies, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and data analytics, and is passionate towards building the industry academia that pave way for outcome-based education. His expertise areas are banking, financial services, insurance, software development, telecom, higher education functions. He was appointed as the chairman, Board of Governors at Indian Institute of Information Technology, Sricity, by Honorable President of India. He also served as chairman and vice chairman of NASCOM GCC Council for Tamil Nadu and Kerala. He is also actively part of Cyber Security and HR Council of All India Committee of American Chamber of Commerce. He was a Senate member at Madurai Kamarajar University, appointed by Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu. He was a member board of studies at Ramanujam Institute of Mathematics. Balasar is presently industry member representative of Cyber Coordination Committee, Ministry of Home, Government of India. Apart from the professional accomplishments above, Mr. Bala was instrumental in the technology initiatives of Government of Tamil Nadu and Tamil Nadu Police on multiple assignments, including Third Eye, DigiCorp, COVID-19 contract tracing, EVP system, migrant workers portal. He is successful transformation leader in building technology and product engineering centers in India to the global organizations. For most speakers, there is always an area of specialization and would have mastered the field. Looking at Mr. Bala's resume made a heart swell with gladness. An exposure to multiple ways of functioning in multiple capacities across multiple industries in multicultural environments. Who better than him to address this audience from the education industry? Now I request Mr. Balasubramaniam to deliver his talk.
Professor, respected Principal Dr. Shanti Madam, Head of the Department, Dr. Hanna Vijay Kumar Madam, Professor Dr. Lakshmi, Mr. Venkatesh from ICT Academy, my dear student friends, it's been a true pleasure and privilege to be part of this great event, national webinar, Higher Education Digital Transformation. I think the topic is already covered by Principal Madam, right? So she has almost touched upon everything, and she was so humble in interacting with me this morning, saying that she's not too much on technology. But I think whatever she mentioned is almost what I wanted to mention. I mean, completely she has touched upon, from the north to south of the complete transformation that is happening globally. That's really great. Thank you for that, madam. So my work is a little easy now. So what I will do, I don't take much time. Rather, I wouldn't want to go deep into what is there in higher education digital transformation. Rather, I will look on three things. One is um, what is it India is undergoing in terms of digital transformation, especially in terms of higher education, and what is that industry is expecting out of the students, because that is something very keen, because I see the audience, most of the audience are students. And I will also touch upon my passionate subject is outcome based education, because that is what India is really really in need of, OB, outcome based education, right? So feel free to ask me any questions in between or once the session is over. So if you look at this higher education digital transformation, amazing topic, right? If you look at India, historically, India has been a leading economy of the world, where the bulk of human economic history, if you see from 1991, the economic reforms have put the country back to a growth trajectory. Right, India's historically demonstrated significant capabilities on deep tech. So today we talk about the technology capabilities of the beautiful country India, but in my view, the deep tech has been with India even in a 2-3 decades back. Right, there were interesting times where change in all the sectors were happening at an unprecedented pace, being driven by an ubiquitous computing and connectivity coupled with new digital technologies. So if you look at way back in 17th or 18th century, there used to be luxury goods called muslin and calico. Okay, so muslin and calico are basically exported to Europe and Middle East, where it is basically a dress material, right? So that's a luxury cloth material, which was done in 17th and 18th century from India to Europe. Likewise, diamonds, which has been done in the 4th century BCE, where India was a sourcing of diamonds exporting to the whole world. You take metallurgy, wood steel is something, and high carbonate steel that was originated from India and exported to Europe and Arab world. Iron smelting, right? In 5th century BCE, where the Greek historian observed that Indian and Persian army used this iron smelting for their strengthening the army, which is from India. When you come to science, the mathematics and the medicine, where numerous concepts by ancient Indian mathematicians, like zero, the decimal system, integers, trigonometry. So all those things have been done by Indians, right? And astronomy, like where India is the first in the world to calculate the Earth's orbit, right, with a higher degree of accuracy. So if you look at technology, India has been a deep tech country, a deep product leading country from the beginning, even from many, many centuries. But everyone have to think through how uniquely India, the country of India is like very, very unique, where the global products always does not work in India. So, right, in fact, India is the first country to have a 30-second billing in telecom, right? So we use one SMS or 30 seconds, it charges the telecom billing, where no country in the world will have this. In fact, we are the country to have a sachet shampoo first. So we are a very unique economy, right? So very, very heterogeneous buying power, cross-country infrastructure challenges are many more. Of course, I don't deny that. But so far, innovation to succeed is really, really high. The potential of innovation succession is very, very high in India. That is what needs to be built right, be affordable, positioned well, and distributed well. And I'm telling you, my dear friends, that cannot happen without the higher education sector getting into digitally transformed. Because any success for a country globally, if you look at, that starts from the education. And that's what I respect the teachers, professors a lot, because they are the people who always give their life next to our parents, or in fact more than ever, because if parents take care of us, that is the duty, I would say. Whereas teachers, they take care of n number of students. And I think we should all, I am in touch with my school teacher and my college teachers, my PG teachers, because they are the people who can never be forgotten. They are actual role models for our life, right? I don't want to touch much upon how the higher education in India is doing. Rather, it's about $180 billion industry in India alone, about 2020, and about 2.7%, if I'm not wrong, is the government expenditure that's spent on the India's GDP as on to 2018. And the annual R&D that is expected by spending 2030 is 140 billion. So if you see the drivers, lot of foreign investments getting into India, especially in higher education sector. The society is being aspirational. Today, what Adarsh College is doing is totally an aspirational society, what somebody can transform. rapidly growing online education market. And that you can see, that's because of COVID. You see now everybody started adopting the digital education, and even the government policies, like as principal madam mentioned, MOOC, Swayam platform. So all those initiatives are like really rapidly growing. The policies are, especially the new education policies, are extremely spectacular in terms of adapting to digital education and vernacular based learning. So all these things are the key drivers. But we all should accept that 2020 saw a truly a black swan event of the pandemic, with the closure of international borders, lockdown on domestic economies, and universities have been caught up in post-COVID trends affecting the society. But one thing is, we all have experienced the world of pain uniquely on their own, right? Everybody have a unique problem, every industry, and it did not spare the education sector as well. So if you look at, large number of lectures were put online very quickly by scholars who were previously vowed never to have anything to do with. That's what my principal madam also mentioned. Everybody started getting adapted to the learning management system and online education and so on and so forth. But at the same time, a lot of teachers have lost job, a lot of professors have been laid off, right? Faculty members were not be able to cope up. At the same time, students are also truly impacted on multiple ways, because everybody can't afford to have the computers at home, right? So still the huge gap had to be filled. But that doesn't mean the opportunities cannot be ignored, right? So the business and operating models of many universities and colleges were exposed as critically relevant to good times consulting, right? So the real and painful as this has been, if you see, most of the consequences of this pandemic were at least evident as emerging trends. I look at as an emerging trend. So confidently, I would say higher education will move forward a relative uniformity to greater diversity. That's a very key thing I wanted to highlight. The higher education will move from a relatively uniformity to great diversity. So if you look at different types of providers, and the forms of provisions will also proliferate. I'm sure you all will agree. See, physically we will see the mix of actual campuses, augmented campuses, where as principal mentioned, the mixed reality and virtual reality. We call AR and VR as MR, mixed reality. The analog world will fuse. Virtual learning environments will actually pop up. But educationally also, we will see more experimentation with content and delivery, and all these forces of impelling the diversity. Most powerful will be search to meet the individual students. So the key point I would like to highlight at the beginning of my speech, my dear students, the quality of a personalized student learning will be the key to institutional success. Because today, this year is gone, 2020 is done, right? If you look at 21, 22, 23, the key parameters for determining a college success is how successful the student of this year performed. That's going to be a great success for every college to determine their future, because the measurability of the personalized student learning, that will be the key for institutional success. I would request the professors and the college management to make note of this point, because this is a very serious study emerged out of last 2 months back in a global study. The personalized student success will determine the institutional success, right? The transformation is nothing, just change in curriculum, right? It's not just only the learning delivery, it's not just the student support, it's not the reach, but it's also about the back office, like what kind of administration back office, what kind of operating model, what kind of technology, and fundamentally the sum of capabilities that reside in the institution. Are we flexible? Are we agile? Are we deliberate and lead the insight of the evidence? So these are all the few things which is going to be most disruptive forces that is going to suggest a bleak future for traditional institutions that do not transform, is going to be in a big challenge. Right. See, today, I'm sure everybody will agree. Today, students are highly tech savvy, right? Be it WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. I mean, that's the least one can use in my way, because that's not the technology, right? Today, students want to embrace technology in everything. Even our parents wanted to embrace technology. So moving at the speed of world, constantly changing technology. So that is where the catalyst, the universities, colleges play a catalyst role, where because when the technology is constantly changing, institutions like Anna Adarsh need to complete the technology ecosystem from cloud to mobile apps, AI, AR, VR. The next generation platforms have to be looked on. I think that's why we have Mr. Venkatesh talking about the technology that is fostering for the next revolution. Okay, and other important key aspects I would like to mention for the university college perspective, this pandemic has created unprecedented challenge for the students and their families. In turn, it might also create a risk of enrollment of student opportunities. So, what is more important? Global, I'm saying the global industry is looking at the awareness of data security, the awareness of students' privacy, and the business continuity. These three are key IT priorities highlighted in COVID-19 pandemic, especially in higher education sector: data security, privacy, and business continuity. Because these three things determine the image of the country, image of the state, image of the college, image of the professors, and image of the students, my dear friends. And coming back to the a new concept I would like to share here is, see, today you take the whole global economy, take any industry for that, but not necessarily have to be a technology industry, any industry for that matter. Today, customers are the drivers, right? So we call something called CX. I'm sure you all have gone through CX. CX is nothing but customer experience, right? So why customers alone should experience, right? So students are also have to experience the best. So I would like to share a perspective, something called SX. SX is nothing but students experience. So this is what a global future expectations of the students, of the parents, and the industry towards the colleges and universities, something called students experience, which adds LX, learning experience, and which I mentioned PX, personalized experience. So you, whatever experience the college, the faculty, the professors are giving towards the students, and whatever the students are using the facilities given by the college and reciprocating their assignments, assessment back towards the college and the professors, that is called as personalized experience and learners experience, which actually talks about SX, students experience, nothing but cooperative learning, right? So today we all talk over phone and talk a lot, but the days of meeting together physically is reduced. Probably it might happen few couple of quarters, but I think cooperative learning, stronger together. Gamification, like the professors can use some gamification techniques to make sure the students are really refreshed. Problem-based learning rather than merely running the PowerPoint presentation. Problem-based learning, and something called design thinking. So, right, few years back, couple of years back, design thinking was introduced, and it was considered as a technology. It was considered as a practice. Nothing. Design thinking is there in every human being, every individual designed by the beautiful Almighty. Everybody has a design thinking, right? How you think about a problem, how you approach a problem, how you think about the learning. I think this is something all the professors and the faculty members should start keeping a session on design thinking on any concept for that matter. Students should look at the perspective as design thinking and thinking based learning, right? Competency based learning. I think these are the few, I mean, lot I can just keep talking on these things. But I think the key point I'm trying to say is like, what kind of experience you bring it to students this year specifically, amidst of all these challenges, is going to determine the success of the college, success of the course, and success of the students in the industry. Because post this topic, I'm going to share few perspectives of what industry is expecting from the students. All right. Am I fast? Am I audible? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, my dear friends, the higher education institutions around the world are approaching on crossroads because of this pandemic. Already, the digital technology revolution has been hitting the global higher education industry from 2019 or 2018, for that matter. And then on top of it, the COVID crossed the roads. So now the key things is, what kind of strategy and operating model, how do you transform, how do you optimize, no do they do nothing and react later? Is that a good practice, or do they do nothing and take a risk? All these questions are truly unanswered, and that can be answered only by the ecosystem. When I mean ecosystem, three people are involved in it. One is the industry, faculty members, and the students. The academia, industry, and the students alone can make sure where the transformation, I mean, you can easily draw a graph. Every professor can do that. Just keep x-axis as disruption, alignment, and performance, and keep y-axis as low to high in terms of strategic ambition. Make sure where your course or where your department, where your college stays in terms of optimization, in terms of transformation. I'm sure college like Anna Adarsh will be at the mid of the curve, where you will be above the optimization and little below the transformation. I think that is where heading towards the success model, right? So reviewing the strategy, I think this is very, very important, because the four blocks, this is considered as a four building blocks, right? So the strategy have to be reviewed, mission and purpose have to be reviewed. No, the core capabilities have to be reviewed, and what kind of operating model we can adopt, that needs to be targeted. What kind of modern technology that can be adopted? I think these needs a very, very periodical review, because none of us meet together in physically, right? And also the outcome based education, which I said is a key framework that has to be adopted, possibly the technology adoption today, now establishing the mission statements, mapping the mission statements into program educational objectives, defending the PLOs, program learning objectives with Bloom's taxonomy, and mapping the program objectives with the PLOs, defining the CLOs, right? I'm sure all the professors understand what I'm talking. So these are the key things, where mapping the assessment with CLO of each courses, and define the pedagogical tools that will determine the outcome based delivery. Because today, what is industry is expecting out of the student is not just a fascinating degree. Today, the outcome based education is measured on the students performance that they deliver in the organization, right? When it comes to a job, why everybody are coming to college, why everybody are really trying hard to get into a college like Adarsh? It's just they want to get a good job, right? So when will you get a good job? If you are really competent, if you're really talented. When you will be talented, you have to be meaningful, you have to be measurable, and there should be a manageable outcome given by your college, right? So these are three M's, I would say: meaningful, measurable, and manageable outcomes, where the college and universities have to look upon on the students. And I'm telling you, my dear friends, especially the students, friends, it's a totally a blessing in the disguise, right? No better opportunity in your career or in your lifetime or in this generation. I would say you are Gen Zs. I would say I'm a Gen Y, and your professors should be Gen X. I'm sure none of us will come across the platform what we are here today, which can be extremely useful for your career development. Yeah, you may be surprised. One side we hear a lot of jobs are getting cut. One side you see that no new opportunities are getting emerged. But this guy is saying about a lot of opportunities are there. Yeah, actually, a lot of opportunities are there, which we are going to talk in next few minutes. Global power, economic power, shifting towards the east from the west, right? Two-thirds of the global population will live here. It will be here in 2025. Now, two-thirds of the global population. Uh, Three of the four largest top world economics, India is one of those, right? I want the students to give a little more attention on these topics, because it's very, very important, because you can make this difference. India scores in size of the economy and growth potential, and India will soon have more workers than China. But please understand, my dear friends, we will be less productive. We are going to have more workforce, but we'll be less productive. What is the reason? India is fourth largest in the world in terms of productivity. We are 17th in terms of productivity and 12th in terms of R&D spending. You understand? So we are biggest country in the top country in the fourth in the world, but we are 17th in productivity and 12th in R&D spending, which very clearly highlights our inavailability to leverage the resource and the manpower that we are available, right? This is the real transformation that one need to look upon. This can be done by only two people. One is by the faculty and professors, and other by the students, because the productivity and the R&D capability have to be nurtured from the students. So when you say technology transformation, I also mentioned casually to yesterday to HOD, technology is only an enabler, right? Anybody can learn technology. I'll give my own example, right? I've never been an BTech or a BE technology student, right? And my fate, 18 years I've been running only technology, right? I've developed Sybil. I've done a lot of, and even now I'm on a technology of managing about 1,000 people. So if you look at technology, is only an enabler. Anybody can learn technology. But what is more important is something I'm going to talk to you now, right? The VUCA world, right? So the volatility, the characterized or by a subject of a rapid, unexpected change, the industry is expecting to the student. Volatility, uncertainty, it's absolutely indefinite, not reliable, not constant, unpredictable. That's how uncertainty is. Complexity, a whole made up of complicated, interrelated parts. No, ambiguity, doubtful or uncertain. So the VUCA world is extremely terrible, and with the COVID situation, it is 10 to the power of 10 times, I would say. The world is really, really volatility, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The turbulent times are unpredictable. Today, we can't say when COVID will end, right? Understand that we are moving our life. Disruption. At once, when we say disruptive, 2 years back, everybody used to think about negative disruption. And we have seen what disruption is mean about taking towards in COVID. But at the same time, please remember, my dear friends, today the disruption is playing an extremely positive role in terms of technology, especially in terms of higher education. So we all have to be prepared for the future. How do we prepare? You are not predictors, right? I mean, you're not. We can't go by some magic or horoscope, right? So we have to have the create the ability to predict the future. Unless you have the capability to predict, unless you have the opportunity to have an out of box thinking, the one I mentioned, design thinking, any concepts you learn, anything that you do, think through thoroughly, understand. So these things will make sure to predict future. So if you once you predict the future, you can actually prepare for the future. Social changes, economical changes, technological changes. If you look at entrepreneurship and skill development, the central government is paying extraordinary attention towards the growth of entrepreneurship and skill development. Of course, the COVID has put a big barricade. Startup culture is awesome. 10,000 startup. I've seen a lot of successful startups. I've also seen a lot of startups which have failed, especially in this COVID. So these are all the challenges I want to put in the front of students, and I wanted to share four key things, my dear friends. And I'm sure the faculty members also should take note of this very simple thing what the industry is expecting out of the student. Right? There were days where we used to call about employability. So this is why everybody coming into good college, everybody getting good marks, high CGPA, and getting into college like Anna Adarsh, because they will get a good placement, right? So employability plays a major role, right? But a term has to be little changed. It's no more employability. It is basically deployability. You know what deployability, right? As an industry person, I don't want to employ, I want to deploy. When I say deploy, I hire now somebody, one of a student from your college, I want to deploy on the same day, because the industry doesn't have the time to do an employment. We wanted to hire them, put them directly. That's number one, employability to deployability. Number two, there were days hire and train, right? So the organizations used to hire a bunch of students. We put them on 90 days training. Days have gone. We don't have the capability, I mean, competency, or I will not capability, sorry. We don't have time. We don't have that bandwidth to train students or train freshers. It is a responsibility of the students first, because you need to train on yourself. That's why Madam mentioned today, Principal mentioned Coursera, Udemy, Khan Academy. Lot of you Google, you take Google. Everything is available over the web, so right. As long as you are interested, you can train yourself. So the concept of, or your college can take the initiative of doing a training. So the hire and train concept have completely gone. Today it is train and hire. You have to be trained, then only somebody will hire you. So first one I said is employability to deployability. The second one is hire and train to train and hire. Third is very, very important, volume hiring. You would have seen 3-4 years back, 1,000 students have been recruited, 5,000 students have been recruited, right? That will not, you're not going to see that anymore. It's going to be a value hiring. Right? Today, if I recruit, say, Shakti or Shushmita from whoever is there in this session, what value the organization get out of the student? That is, or the employee. That is what looked at, not a volume hiring, not how many I'm hiring. What is the value I hire? And the last one is purpose hiring. What is the purpose of hiring them? If I hire somebody, what kind of transformation I can get into the organization? Take my words, my dear students and dear respected faculty members. These are the four trends that is getting shifted during the COVID and post COVID. You will evidently see employability to deployability, hire and train to train and hire, volume hiring to value hiring, purpose hiring. Okay, and future skills, again, other things. So today 1 million IT force is already enabled with the 9 technologies identified by the government of India for the new job creations, right? The domains that are cybersecurity, AR, VR, IoT, big data analytics, AI, robotic process automation, 3D printing, cloud computing, social and mobile. So all these 9 technologies have been already been figured out. In fact, we have created, NASCOM have created 55 job roles identified with 155 different skills. Probably I can share that with your professor and head of department where she can share it to all the students. So even in the IT industry, we have not left the workers just like that. Being in women college, girls college, I would like to share upon this thing. We have something called W2RT, W2RT, Women Wizard Rule Tech, where the especially the women, the girls, first 2 3 years you are very interested to work in an organization, right? After that most of them get married and they may not tend to continue. I think we are dead against that. So we identified a small workforce called Women Wizard Rule Tech, a unique program designed only for women professionals in core technologies, right? You may not have done that. See, 3 years somebody have worked, they would have got married, they would have moved out of your professional life. But we wanted to give first preference to those women employees, train them in the latest technologies, especially in the STEM and technology, not only at a junior level but also senior level. And we wanted to put them as a first right of refusal to all the organization. This is the initiative that we have taken. So even if you look at our Prime Minister announced the future skills for skill development, even that is something you need to look at. So if you look at NASSCOM estimated nearly 60% of the Indian IT firms have only 20% of the women at C-suite level. When I say C-suite level, at a higher level, the CXO level. And we also reported 4.5% of higher proportion of young women aged between 30 to 35 in C-suite level roles than men in the same group. So on an average, women at this level are more qualified than their male counterparts. That is something really excellent to see that. But I think the consistency and the sustenance of this have to be increased, and that has to be triggered by the colleges. Okay, so we talked about technology, we talked about outcome-based education, we touched upon what kind of expectation the global industry is expecting towards the student, towards the higher education is SX. But a very important aspect I would like to share my views, my dear students, is this is something very, very important. Today, I think this is the area where we actually lack. Technology, as I said, it's an enabler. Everybody can learn technology. Your professors can teach you. You can get yourself trained. But the key thing is 40% of the global employers reported difficulties is sourcing skilled talent, right? This is extremely contradictory. One side, India is a country that has young talents, and even specifically South India, specifically Tamil Nadu, has highest talent potential. Extraordinary colleges are there. Hundred thousands of students passed out every year, especially in the STEM side. But at the same time, global employer says skilled talent, there is a huge gap. What it means, right? When I say skilled talent, it's not just the technology, my dear friends, right? It is 77% of the employer feels soft skills are more important than hard skills. Today, you see students, the communication plays a major gap between the students. Communications are very, very important. The listening skills, empathetical skills. How do you convince a customer? How do you, first of all, respect a fellow worker? These are the basic skills today. Creativity, right? Subtle communication. These are the hybrid roles, I would say. In other words, no, a robot can always put their input and crunch the data. Any technology can do that. But what differentiates technology and a human is the emotional intelligence, is the business strategy, the negotiation skills, public speaking skills, collaborative skills, respecting a fellow human being. I think these are the key things, my dear friends, today, what industry is expecting from the students fraternity. So if you see the higher education, you may think that my topic is little diverted, my speech is little diverted from the technology. As I said, now the higher education digital transformation has already happened. Today, what you are doing today itself a transformation. But what is more important is, but the measuring the effectiveness of the students, looking at the outcome-based education framework, re-looking at the pedagogy. These are the things that's going to determine how successful the digital transformation in higher education is going to impact the society, the state, and the industry. And if you, I'm sure you will be aware that the India has become the permanent member of Washington Accord. What it means, the degree that is awarded here is highly respected in the Western countries. So, right. So likewise, that's what outcome-based education comes into picture. With this, I just like to wanted to share a small story, which is a personal story I love to share. A few years back, when I was in Singapore, that was my first trip to Singapore, where a taxi driver picked me up, and I just showed the visiting card where I need to get dropped. And the meter was about $11, and he took only 10 because he was not able to drop the place where I need to get dropped. We are just rounding a couple of rounds. I asked him that the meter is $11. Why did you charge only $10? Right? He said, "Sir, I'm a taxi driver. I'm supposed to bring you straight to the address where you mentioned, but I did not know the last part, so I took a couple of rounds. That's why it got delayed." He said, "That's okay. You take the money." He said, "No, that's my ignorance, sir. I don't want to take it." And he didn't stop there. He said, "Sir, Singapore is a tourist country, right?" Excuse me. Singapore is a tourist destination. Everybody come to Singapore for 3 4 days vacation, and at once they finish their immigration, clear their customs. The first experience they meet is a taxi driver, and if the experience with a taxi driver is not good, the next 4 5 days as a tourist, their experience is also going to be not good. It's going to be bad. So I'm not a taxi driver, sir. I'm an ambassador of this country without a diplomatic passport. This may look little serious subject, but my dear friends, this is the most inspiring incident in my life, which I've shared to a couple of senior guys as well. In my opinion, this driver would not have done a school. I don't think he would have gone for a college, right? He thoroughly reflected the behavior of pride in performance and character. So that day I learned that one needs to be more professional, more than the professional qualification, the professional behavior. That's very, very important. The knowledge, skill, money, education, everything comes later. What first comes is human values, honesty, integrity, and technology. Everything comes behind that. So professionalism is not what the job you do, it is how you do the job. With my dear student friends, thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Dr. Hanna Vijaykumar, for the opportunity. I would love to take questions and answer more rather than talking about technology, digital revolution, because you all are aware of it. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your informative upskilling and explaining to us that innovation in the education sector and the quality of personalized student learning can lead to success globally for institutions and country. Sir, I have few questions based on the presentation, and will you answer them, sir?
Absolutely, Shakti.
So my first question will be, in India, will online training be the only way of learning in the new normal?
My question is no, it's going to be a blended learning, right? We are a country, probably after a decade we might, but without the influence of teachers, without the blessings of faculty members physically, this model cannot be successful. Of course, this is an intermittent time where during this pandemic times we are using online, but that's a new norm. I don't deny that. But certainly, a lot of things. See, it's not just learning, just not just teaching, right? So many things comes into picture, right? So be it not only assessment, not only assignment, beyond that, see, every teacher will focus on R&D, because 50% they will teach, they'll be do teaching, and the rest 50% they will do an R&D, and they're not going to do R&D for their own benefit. They're going to do the R&D for the benefit of the student. So blended learning will be the actual right thing for the country like India, at least for our generation and your generation as well. Maybe next generation, Z square, maybe, but I don't know. But for the next decade, this decade or next decade, it will be a blended learning. Of course, online will be predominantly playing a major role, no doubt about it. Technology will play an extremely a great role, but blended learning will be the best in my view.
Thank you, sir. So, my second question, how does outcome based education help the student in learning?
Excellent. So I think I'll put you an example. So today, how we look at outcome-based education, right? Today, Sakti and Shushmita, you are students of computer science final year, right? If I'm not wrong, final year, right? Okay. So I'm sure in next few months you're going to be placed in a company. Hopefully, you're going to work in a company. So after a year or so, you might be promoted. You might get some good salary increase, or you may not get. I hope you should get, but I'm just quoting for example. You may not get. So your faculties or your mentors in the college should have a consistent touch with you and your employer, right? After 3 years, what your employer feels about your contribution to the organization, that is what outcome based education. This is how outcome based education, the final destination of OBE, right? So now taking back to a theoretical way, outcome based education is nothing but drawing the mission of the college, program objective, course objective. You map as per the Bloom's taxonomy. These are all the academic terms, so your professors are more equipped than me. But outcome-based education is basically a framework what a student have learned during their course that can be demonstrated in their work. That is what an outcome-based education. Outcome-based education. What outcome you derive out of your education to your job, to your industry, even to your personal life for that matter. It's not necessarily only to your employer, right? So that is why I said always be in touch with your professors. Never leave them. They are your mentors for your life. Keep them, right? So talk to them because today you may be an tomorrow you may be a data analyst, right? So Professor Dr. Ranjana Madam would have taught you data, right? Please be in touch with her. She will be definitely helpful. In fact, you can also share your perspectives, saying that, ma'am, this is what the way that you're taught, and this is what the industry is telling me. Give back the feedback, throw back the feedback, so that your first year students who will get into third year will be helpful, right? So the outcome education is basically a circle, it's an ecosystem. But to put up precisely my answer, outcome based education is what an industry gets out of your education, the demonstration of your learning through this 3 years, what you showed to the industry, that's called as outcome based education. My answer may be very short, but I don't want to give a long answer, right? So you may not like it. So I just wanted to give a short answer. I hope it's okay with you.
It's okay, sir. Going on to the next question. To increase employability in the current situation, what are the main requisites to focus?
What are the main? I didn't get
What are
you.
the main requisites to focus on?
Main prerequisites to focus on. Okay, so apart from your academics, you have a lot of time, right? So know what is going around in the world. That's very, very important, right? Understand all the other sides of the world, right? So what's happening in the global economy, and see how technology is enabling, because this will create a huge trust in you, every student. So technology today, you take a milkman, he delivers milk by an app. That's how technology revolution, right? Digitalization of technology. So understand beyond your academics, try to learn as much as you can because you have huge time. See, I used to say the work from home in our industry, IT industry is still in work from home. Everybody are enjoying. First 6 months, now everything was going very well. Everybody were doing well. But today, the lockdown is open, right? So we tend to spend more time outside than work from home, right? So there's a deterioration. But I'm sure the students will also have the same. Probably the kind of attention that you would have paid in the month of May, June, July versus now would have got deteriorated. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But the more important thing is take this opportunity, learn as much as you can, do deep dive. Probably even when I was graduating and post graduating, the opportunity for me to get everything out of the virtual world or web world is not that much. To some extent it was, but it was not that great. Whereas in this millennial Z guys, you have wonderful opportunity and you don't need to spend anything. All you need to spend is two things. One is your interest, one is your time. That's it, right? You chat in Facebook, you be in Instagram for 3 hours a day. It doesn't matter. Even that Instagram gets you a lot of good information. Your Facebook gets you a lot of good information. Absolutely not problem. You want to do all cranky things, to do it. Just get out of it, know what it is, and then focus in life. That's what important, right? So to put on to give a precise answer, Shakti, the prerequisite, no prerequisites, only your interest, your time, and make sure this time will never be, of course this COVID should not be repeated, but the opportunity you get in this time can never be repeated in any generations for that matter. So make sure this time is utilized well, right? Have a nice discussion, look at a lot of YouTube videos, have short videos, right? So even advice to professors, today you give a long lecture, people get bored. Don't give any lecture beyond 15-20 minutes. Break that into pieces. Students will have interest to learn, right? And also keep immediately some quizzes. Keep some quiz, throw some questions. So and don't even treat students like when they are in the college, in the school. Just be like a very, very, you be among them. I think the interest level of the students will multifold. So no prerequisite, Shakti. Be what you are. Enjoy your life, and that's the prerequisite. Feel free. Now take care of yourself, health wise, and knowledge wise. I think that's the prerequisite at this point in time, because everything will automatically, because everybody have learned a lot in this COVID times. Everybody has a learning. If I'm going to ask Shakti and Shushmita to speak, you can speak for 2 hours because your learnings are enormous than all of us, right? So be what you are. That's the prerequisite needed for the next next few years. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. My next question is, can you give an application of out of the box thinking?
Application of what do you mean by that? I don't get the question well. Application of out of box thinking. What do you mean by that?
Uh, so, like an application, an example of
Oh, okay.
how do you think out? Yes.
Got it. Use cases. Okay, you want a use case. All right. I'll tell you a use case which I've done because of this COVID. Um, okay. So, we work with 20,000 universities and colleges and 120 million students users. So our US geography, students are tend to forget passwords. That's the biggest problem with Western students. Of course, we forget, but we are all very little sharp in that way. At least I have a password app called One Password. I note down all my password, but unfortunately, the Westernized students don't have the tend to use password. I mean, don't keep passwords. So on an average, at least some 5,000, 10,000 requests, 5 to 8,000 requests come for a password reset, right? So we have 700 agents working for us just to address students. Hey, which URL I need to get in? No, what is my section? What is my password? How do I reset password? All these things get in. 700 people, 700 agents are involved. So what we have done, we thought, okay, agents are being physically employed, I mean, to create this. Rather, what we thought, we created a very quick chatbot. So, what is the purpose? As a student, Shakti will call, say that, hi, I'm Shakti, and you're going to tell your student ID. You're going to say your college, you're from Anna Adarsh. I'm going to, oh, Shakti, okay, I'm going to just check the system and I'm going to, see, okay, you decide, okay, you forget the password. Okay, let's reset it. That's what you're going to do. It's a very, very manual work which can be automated. We created chatbot. So we created a chatbot which will not speak, but which will answer all your questions. It will say, Shakti, here is your timetable. Shushmita, here is your class timing. Here is your course curriculum. This is Ranjana madam is going to teach you tomorrow. This is what she's going to teach you, right? So everything is going to be answered in a fraction, in milliseconds. So this is an out-of-box thinking which came out of my team, especially when COVID started. Because in Western countries, COVID started a little early, at least a month before what for us it was in March, but whereas there it was in January, February itself. So we started predicting this and we created a chatbot, and end of March we went live. Today the 600 agents work has been done by few chatbots, and students are extremely happy because they needed to wait for line. Immediately it's happening. So this is what out of box thinking I would say, right? Any complicated things or any easy things, how easily you can approach, think through. That's what I said. Professors should form a design thinking circle, especially in computer science department. Create a design thinking circle. Put some mentor. Understand what is design thinking. Nothing. It is nothing. It's very, very simple. How do you think differently? That's what design thinking. Create a circle. At least start with this batch because this batch has a lot of time. Spend at least 2 hours in a week, and the next 2 hours for learning and 2 hours for practicing and sharing design thinking. And that is what out of box thinking will emerge, at least for your next batch of students. Did I answer your
Thank
question,
you.
Smita? Was it too
Yes, sir.
complicated?
Yes, no, sir. It's understandable, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your precious time for this meeting. And I hope all the students have got an idea on how to transform themselves for the new normal.
I hope my talk was not too techy as well as not too complicated. With a short span of time, whatever I wanted to touch upon, I just touched upon. I'm sure faculties, professors, and the students would have got some information. I think any points that you have picked up, just go through that deep dive in the points. You will get more information. And don't feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure I'm available on LinkedIn. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you can take my number from Hannah madam. I'll be happy to extend my help in terms of project or in terms of placement, whatever I can work with the college and try to help the professor as well and the students as well. Wishing you all the very best. Stay
So
safe.
thank you, sir. We'll just be happy if you could share one of your present COVID projects with us.
Oh,
Just
sure.
an applicant. Thank
Oh,
you, sir.
Sure, I'll do that, madam. That's interesting thing. So 3, 4 projects we did for COVID is completely on a social cause, and one interesting thing was contact tracing. So we don't know what to do when the COVID started in India, especially in Tamil Nadu. We thought it wouldn't have much impact, but it started having a great impact. So our police department and our home secretary, health secretary, and our DGP and our chief secretary triggered a task force team, and they wanted to. We did a brainstorming session. We involved a couple of my friends from the industry, MD of Caterpillar and MD of PayPal, and myself. And we also involved a professor from IIT Madras. So we and some brilliant officers in police department. So we created something called contact tracing. So what we have done, we have actually gathered the data of people who have traveled in the month of March in the flights, who have come to Chennai, who have come to Tamil Nadu, any airports of Tamil Nadu. We have taken the travelers' data who have actually traveled, and we have taken many data, many other multiple data which I'm not able to share now. So we have taken data, we have collated, and we have seen with the help of health department, we have seen where the people have moved towards, and we identified whether the COVID is positive, with whom they have spoken, how long they've spoken, and a team of 100 people were placed as a contact center. They started calling everybody. For example, now Professor Hanna Madam and myself have spoken for 2 times in a day. Probably there are chances where Hanna Madam would have met me or I would have met Madam. So the call will go to Professor Dr. Hanna as well as it will come to me. So Bala, did you meet Professor Dr. Hanna? I'll say no. And they will go to Professor Dr. Hanna. And Madam, did you meet Bala? She will say yes. So I think that means I may be a COVID guy. I may be skeptical, not telling the truth, but Anna Madam have told it. So now Anna Madam will be requested to go for a checking. So, and then the next set of tracing will be how many people have spoken to Hanna Madam. So this is how the contact this is how actually the spread happened. But the government was extremely helpful. The health department, police department took extraordinary care. It is an algorithm basically. We use the AI algorithm. It's a prediction. It's not just using this data. It's a very high-end algorithm has been used. Predicted within like 3, 4, no, within like a week or so, we created this algorithm that helped the whole of Tamil Nadu to save many thousands and probably lakhs of people testing earlier before they get a COVID, or making sure they don't get into contact with somebody with whom the COVID got affected. This is one in brilliant projects, and a lot of things. The tracking the migrant workers. Tracking the government employees who got impacted, and issuing e-pass. So a lot of projects we have. In fact, last week we have our Commissioner of Police have launched drones to monitor people, especially for Diwali purchase. We have done so a lot of things we are planning. I think, see, this is where students should make a huge role. See, last year we conducted hackathon. I don't know whether your college was part of it. Almost 800 students were part of it. The hackathon again this year we are conducting hackathon. I wish you are. We in the sense Tamil Nadu Police Department is conducting hackathon. Greater Chennai Police before November 30 you will get an announcement. I think this is where students can make two aspects. One is, see, you contribute to the society, your community, your city, your state. At the same time, you get an extraordinary energy, enthusiasm, and knowledge by doing something different. With what you have learned, you are going to demonstrate that into product, into a prototype. Who knows, that prototype may be a product. The product may be invested. You may be an entrepreneur. You may be part of a startup. So anything can happen with this small initiative of being participative in such hackathon. I'm sure your principal, Dr. Shanti, and Professor Dr. Hanna Madam and Professor Dr. Ranjana will definitely push the students to be part of such hackathons. So long story short, yeah, these are the work that we have done.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your projects, and it was a great
Boring session.
we have no words. You're such a innovative person.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Hanna Madam, Dr. Ranjana, Shakti, Vinita, Sushmita, I see Professor Unnamale Madam, and the team of tech team, basically, who are helping in this, enabling this video and audio. Thank you so much, because you are the enablers, actually. Right. So thank you so much as well. Wishing you all the very best. And God bless. Jai Hind. Thank you so much. Good day.
The Department of Computer Science encourages technical scripting to showcase the creative skills of the students in publishing the department's in-house magazine, Interlink. This magazine acts as a platform for showcasing the student-mentor teamwork in highlighting articles, student-centric activities, achievements, and events organized by the Department of Computer Science. Now, we feel elated and privileged in releasing the Interlink 2020 Volume 7 themed on the new normal, which revolves around the major developing topics in the world. Can we have a virtual applause to the Interlink team of faculty members and students who worked behind the release of the Interlink 2020? Progressing, I would again like to call upon Assistant Professor Ms. S. Ranjana to introduce Mr. G. Venkatesh, Head Academic Operation, ICT Academy.
It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. G. Venkatesh, Head Academic Operations, ICT Academy. Mr. Venkatesh is a postgraduate in Computer Applications and Business Management, and he has 2 decades of experience in the training education industry. He works closely with the academic ecosystem around ICT Academy. He is working with both industry and academia in bridging the skill gap. Mr. Venkatesh is also responsible for the implementation of largest government projects and CSR programs. He plays a pivotal role in implementing projects in the areas of skill development, faculty development, digital empowerment, and entrepreneurship development. He is responsible for the entire project management lifecycle, including project acquisition, planning, budgeting, and implementation, which involves trainers management, content management, student acquisition, course delivery, and post-training activities. He is also responsible for the quality and audit of the organization. As a lead of assessment and certification, Mr. Venkatesh also manages online assessment of all ICT Academy certifications and other project assessments and certifications. He is a certified public speaker in leadership and strategic thinking. We are happy to have you with us today, sir. Now I request Mr. Venkatesh to deliver talk on the topic, Role of Technology in Education in this virtual forum. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to one and all present, and to all the student community and faculty community who are watching through YouTube Live. Welcome to this national webinar on technology in education. Can I have the presenting option, please, so that I could put across my presentation? Thank you. I'm yet to receive the option, share option.
The present now button you have to click. Present now.
Yes, I could not.
No, it's open to all, sir. So you can do it. They have stopped presenting. Others have stopped presenting.
Okay, I'm trying to share a screen, but I'm not able to get.
Can you mail it to me, sir? Can you mail it to me?
Yeah, I could do that, but is it visible now, ma'am? I shared my entire screen since I could not get sharing a window.
No, we are not able to see the screen.
Okay. Give me a minute, ma'am.
Yeah, they're able to see now.
Okay, good. The presentation is visible now?
It's the entire screen now, sir. You have to open the presentation.
Okay. Before I continue with the presentation, I have a disclaimer.
No, Venkatesh, you're not able to see.
I'm sorry.
Your presentation is not visible. The screen is visible. It's visible now. Your mic is muted.
Okay, good afternoon to one and all once again. Welcoming to this national webinar on technology in education. As I was mentioning, I just wanted to put across a small disclaimer. Though the presentation says technology, I'm not going to get into too much of technology, or I'm not going to make use of too much of jargons. And even while I was creating this presentation for this particular seminar or webinar, I was ensuring that I'm not using too much of technical jargons throughout the session. So I think there was a detailed introduction about me, so I skipped the slide about the introduction. So now, right now, when you talk about role of technology in education, it's not only in education, as the nation itself is impacted by technology. So I would say we are now, the country is adopting to technology. So I would say it is digital India. The India itself is becoming forced to see the changes. And I would say this digital India concept of the center is also changing the education sector. So when we talk about education and digital India, not only in India, across the globe, over the years, with the invent of this digital medias and technology, the pedagogical methods and teacher-student interaction among the globe have evolved. The education sector today is not just bound to the classroom, but in fact has successfully merged with internet to become a better serving industry. Due to digitization and availability of video solutions, the process of teaching and learning has greatly changed. And India is increasingly becoming digitally connected due to the effect of the schemes from the Center, Digital India. And many online education aggregators have come up and are participating in this revolution to change the way one think about learning teaching process. And these online educators or online players focus on creating video contents for students across the educational spectrum. And they use animations and other tools with the help of teachers, lecturers, and experts to create videos which are education, but at the same time entertaining too. Not to mention, the presence of these aggregators is democratizing the education scenario of the nation, as the content they provide is available to everyone and not limited to people who can afford to pay for them. Students can browse through multiple providers to learn, understand, and even revise the concepts. Furthermore, these online educators provide rooms for interactive classrooms for the students, among the students, as opposed to the traditional classroom environment where learning is again limited to a particular duration, say 30 to 40 minutes. And these websites also give students the liberty to study at their own pace. And they can redo concepts they have and whatever the doubts that they have, and they can go back and revise. And these aggregators also provide a wide variety of subjects or content, which could range from, say, languages to science, or from literature to mathematics. I mean, you name it, they will have a content on it. This diversity of content is especially attractive to people in colleges, as well as those who are learning a new language or a new technology, as opposed to the traditional content available to them, which is only through their colleges or institutions. Not only for students, even for people who want to reskill themselves, or I'm already an employed person, I want to revisit a technology or a topic or a knowledge or a skill which I learned ages ago. Now learning is possible through this video content, which is made easier for them, as they can have some less time consuming and more effective for them to revise the concepts, whatever they want to do or whatever they want to reskill in. And to put it in a nutshell, in this days and age, digital tools are the key to make learning more effective and entertaining. Video solutions have made educations easier, and online aggregators have made the availability of diverse content easy for all, proving to be a game changer in the education sector. So with this initial note, let me get into what are the technologies that support us in the education sector. What are the emerging technologies, how they could be used in education so that the teaching learning experience can be changed in a better way. So if I have to say, there is a huge list of technologies that are being used or could be used in the education. I've just listed some of them based on the timing availability for us in this webinar. So the list goes on like this: augmented reality, Internet of Things, cloud computing, mobile learning, virtual laboratories, remote laboratories, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, etc., etc. Now let's take some of them for discussion, and let's see how that could be used in the day-to-day learning teaching process. First, I would say about augmented reality. What is this augmented reality, first of all? So we would have heard about something called virtual reality, which takes completely into a different world altogether. Most of us would have experienced that in the gaming. One or the other game we would have played in virtual reality or augmented reality. The same can be implemented in education as well. So what is the objective of this, implementing these kind of augmented reality? Using these augmented reality, the students learn it through visually. So that catches the attention of students, and it ensures the engagement and interaction of students in the classes, because they are seeing it, experiencing it as what they are learning. Rather than just imagining in their mind, this will help them understand the serious concepts, complex concepts, which generally teachers uses in a teaching learning model inside a classroom. So this kind of a 3D model will help the students understand various complex lessons. Say something like, let's say we are handling a science class where we are talking about the internal organs of body. So rather than a student just looking at a picture or we making him visualize, we could have an augmented reality when the teacher or the professor is teaching. we could bring in the augmented reality where the student can see the visuals of the internal organs. So not only science, you take for any engineering concepts as well. So the student could be able to see and visualize these contents through this augmented reality concept. It could be complex architectural design, or it could be any technology that we are talking about. So implementation of augmented reality will help the students to visualize the complex concepts. To move to the next topic, IoT in educations. IoT stands for Internet of Things. As a topic itself says Internet of Things. It didn't say Internet of computers or Internet of devices. It says Internet of Things. So what does this Internet of Things means? It means making everyday object interact through internet. Now imagine in our education sector, what are the day-to-day things or our everyday things? It would be our books predominantly, and then some systems where we create our say white papers or documentation of whatever it is. Is it possible? Can we make our books interact with the computers? Whatever notes that I'm looking in the textbook, can I make it to automatically come into my computer in a document format, or can it come into a document in my mobile phone? Possible? Yes, it is possible with the use of Internet of Things. So that makes the teaching learning process among the students as well as teachers much more easier. This teacher, while referring to various textbooks, making notes, and instead of writing it down, can they make it use with the use of a small marker, which is enabled through Internet of Things, directly put it into a document, Word document, or in a form of a presentation? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. So again, Internet of Things, it does not only apply to learning, it also streamlines various other activities, physical activities like security of students. It enhances the security of campus, whereby we can implement RFID devices, which helps us to track students' attendance, or the institution buses, we can locate them. The information could be passed directly from the bus, whether this bus has started on time, is it on the right time in the right track. This all can be tracked sitting inside the campus. And the students tracking also can be done with the help of IoT. And next topic that we could think of that could be used in education is cloud computing. So what is this cloud computing? So if we look at what is the major constraint today for any institution would be building up infrastructure as the technology grows. Investment into technologies and infrastructure would be a biggest challenge for many of the institutions. And cloud computing comes as one solution for them. Imagine we want to maintain all the records of the students. Year on year, the number of students growing on all these record maintenance. Instead of a physical storing inside the campus, we can put it inside a cloud and it can be managed only through internet. And imagine a computer science lab, and year on year, I would say month on month or day on day, the new versions of technology, new versions of hardware coming up. So whatever we have invested, by the time we utilize it full, the new version of hardware, the new version of softwares would have evolved. So in that case, if we go for cloud computing, that would be a big advantage for the students as well as for the institutions, where the cost of ownership is getting reduced. It is almost, we could simply compare it to our electricity. So as much we use, we pay only for that. I need not to have an power production plant just to use power supply at home. Similarly, instead of investing on infrastructures and hardwares or softwares, you could simply buy a cloud solution which will take care of our storage issues and upgrading issues with computers and softwares that evolve day by day. So apart from this, the reduction in the cost, it also helps us to have the adoption of e-learning among students. So when we have cloud solution across, so the student need not to only come down to the lab or come down only to classroom to learn. With the help of, since it is available on the cloud, students can learn from anywhere. And since now it is going to be a cloud-based, we can also think of personalized learning teaching. It need not be the same content across for all students. We could even categorize the students based on their intelligent quotients and the kind of content, the kind of examples, the kind of assignments that we can differentiate, we can personalize based on the students because it is available on cloud. And since again it is available on cloud, we can have a collaborative classroom. We can have a peer interaction, not only among our institution, we can have a peer interaction between the institutions as well. That is also possible with the help of cloud computing. And the eventual use of this cloud computing, indirectly the students also is preparing students for jobs in technology, because even before they land in the industry, they are using the technology to learn process, which again in turn make them the tech savvy of this particular technology so that they could use in their professional environment after they get into industry. And the next technology that I would talk about is mobile learning. I think which I need not to talk about right now, post this pandemic situation. Now this has become a common as our new normal. And this mobile learning has made much easier life for the faculties and students today because of this pandemic. They can undergo their classes right from their home. And the advancement in the mobile technology, and we could think of whatever the mobile that we have been using 6 months before has now been upgraded to a different version, different features, etc. So this advancement also helps the students in mobile learning and also helps us for the further development of mobile learning through this technology. And when we talk about mobile learning, we have varieties of mobile learning. It could be about MVLE-based learning, app-based learning, podcasting, augmented reality-based learning, or game-based learning can be implemented through mobile learning process. And is it emerging technologies making impact only in the learning process? No, it is also impacting how the assessments and exams are conducted today. So the days have gone where the student has to go down to an exam center or a university or a college premises where they have to take up the exam. With the help of these online testings, the student can take exams from anywhere they like to take it up. It could be from their home or the place there of convenience. The only thing that they would require would be a computer and a high-speed internet. So if they have the computer and internet, is it sufficient? No. To make the online testing more credible and valid, proctoring is very important. And since the assessment is happening online, the exams also has to be proctored online. So how do we do this online proctoring? So again, with the advent of technology, we could now process the assessments. So it could be done through, before the candidate could start a test, a photo verification could be done, and some kind of an ID card verification could be done. And still more to verify, the OTP verification could be done to authorize the candidate before the candidate could start the test. And during the assessment, we could also verify the candidate, whether is it the right candidate, the remote candidate whoever is taking up the exam, is it the right candidate who is taking up the exam? Or we could monitor them live. Not only the candidate, we could also monitor the exam screen. Are they deviating from the exam screen? Are they referring to some website for the answers? Are they legibly taking the exam? Or if someone else is assisting the candidate or the student during the exam. And as a warning, we could even pause, resume the test during the assessment when we come across any malpractices that is happening with the advent of today's technology. And on top of this, we can even think of adding robotic process automation or artificial intelligence on top of this online assessment, wherein the proctoring can be still more made easier with the help of artificial intelligence, where we could have a facial recognition software implemented or blended with this online examination, where it could detect the candidate's face, whether it's a right person, or it could also even detect the students' movement? Are they religiously taking the assessment, or are they referring to any other websites? Are they getting distracted by mobile phones? Are they taking help with some other else? Or is there some other person nearby helping? All this could also be done with the help of technology integration, such as robotic process automation or artificial intelligence in this proctoring. So we saw like usage of emerging technologies in the teaching learning process and assessment. Is that the end? No. As a next end, now even the interviews are happening online. So even with the help of technology nowadays, the interviews and offer letter receiving is also happening online. So now a virtual interview is like it takes place remotely, sometimes over phone, but most often nowadays we are using various video conference tools and other online communication platforms. And today, even the webinar that we are now undergoing is happening online, where we are trying to meet various peoples, where it is bringing various stakeholders across. The similar scenario can happen in the interview, where there could be one corporate interviewing multiple candidates in a particular platform. And post this pandemic period, it has become now very common scenario where we could see a lot of interviews happening online. So now the students should also enable themselves to undergo interviews virtually, make them equipped with various communication tools, various interaction tools which could help them to clear these interviews. And now most of the employers are also using up this tool, because this would cut on a lot of other activities like travel, the expenses that it incurred during travel, etc., etc. So to put it in a nutshell, education sector in India, digital India, or with the invent of or the usage of emerging technologies, I would put it into three processes. First is in the teaching learning process. The usage of technology has made significant improvement in the teaching learning process. And post learning, when the student goes for assessment, again, now these online assessments, which are again remotely proctored, makes the assessment to happen much easier. And post assessment, when the students goes for their placement, the online interviews or the virtual interviews enable the students as well as the employers utilize these technologies and reduce their travel and expenses that is incurred during travel. So with this point, I conclude the topic that I have been assigned. And before I conclude, I would like to thank the management of the college for providing this opportunity to talk to you all. And I would like to make a note of the services that we are offering. And ICT Academy also has now moved on digitally. And one of our initiative called Sky Campus, which we have been existing for a long time, but has become very popular during this pandemic period, which is an online learning platform. Through Sky Campus, ICT Academy offers various live virtual faculty development programs, virtual power seminars for students, and various digital knowledge series for educators. And we also have LMS for students. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for your innovative guidance. As you explained, adapting to technology is not an option. Technology is changing constantly, and people are learning something new every day. Thanks, sir, for spending your time with us, and we are privileged to have you, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine, and I'm open for questions if there are any questions.
Sir, can you please explain the role of LMS?
Okay, LMS, it's a learning management system. See now, as Bala was mentioning, even post-pandemic, will this online learning would continue? How it would be? He mentioned it would be a blended learning. Yes, so there would be a compulsion where we would have to live with a blended learning, where the online learning also will be part of our regular learning. So there could be some modules where students have to do a self-study, or that could be a space for the students to go back and revise certain concepts, what has been taught by faculty inside the classroom. In those scenarios, this learning management system, LMS, would be of a great help for the students.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure meeting you, sir.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
I'm sure the webinar could have provided an insight of the role of technology in education. And having coming to a fact end, we present a curtain raiser of the international webinar series in the upcoming week and Intercollegiate Events Interface 2020. That was a spectacular teaser, and I hope everyone is awaiting to enjoy and showcase your creativity. Viewers, kindly fill the feedback form pinned in the comment section. Now I call upon Associate Professor Ms. A. Lakshmi to propose the vote of thanks.
Having come to the end of the National SIM webinar, it is my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of Computer Science, Shift 1, and Adarsh College for Women. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to our resource person, Mr. M.BALASUBRAMANIAM, MD, Blackboard India, and Chairman, Board of Governors, IIIT, Sricity, for his informative and interactive session on higher education digital transformation 3D approach, which is the need of the hour. I would like to thank Mr. G. Venkatesh, Head Academic Operations, ICT Academy, for his enlightening session on the topic Role of Technology in Education, which was an eye-opener to the concepts and techniques. I thank the educators, students, and participants from industry for attending this national webinar eagerly. On behalf of the Department of Computer Science, Shift 1, I would like to thank the Management Punjab Association for granting permission to organize this program. I would like to extend my gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. R. Shanti, for a great support and encouragement for this event. On behalf of the staff and students of the department, I thank our HOD, Dr. Hannah Vijay Kumar, for organizing this national webinar. I extend my special thanks to my energetic colleagues and to our beloved students, including TechByte team, for helping us to make this program successful. A special word of thanks to the technical team for streaming this webinar. Above all, I thank Almighty for making this program happen virtually. I hope all the participants have filled the feedback form. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Train your mind to see the good in everything. Positivity is a choice. The happiness depends on the quality of thought. On this note, I would like to thank everyone for connecting with us and spending your valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye.